The guy with the fanatic? What's up with that belly button? It's real big. It's an optical illusion belly button? Ginormous belly button. Like an abyss in the middle of his stomach. Maybe his belly button just is that big. I'm Hannah Kaiser, and this is the Bandwagon. It's October, which means 20 teams are going to have to fire their manager, or in the case of Mickey Callaway, not if they want us to talk about them again. But enough doom and gloom and Mets. We are here to talk about the 10 teams that do still matter. It is the big-ass playoff preview episode, and we got to talk fast because one of those teams is getting eliminated today. Yeah. I'm not going to try to guess which team that will be because trying to predict the outcome of the postseason is as futile as it is self-defeating. Literally, the best thing that the playoffs can be is unpredictable. No one cares if your predictions are wrong, I hope. And they definitely don't care if your predictions are right. Seriously. I don't care if your predictions are right. The point of this show is not to tell you who will win, but who you should want to win. Yeah. First up, National League wildcard, which will pit the Milwaukee Brewers against the Washington Nationals in a battle of city without a state and city whose state I couldn't remember for legitimately 5 minutes last night while writing the script. Let's not put that part in the final cut. The Brewers were one of few teams playing for anything, namely to avoid having to play in this winner-go-home game in the final weekend of the season. That meant getting to see Lorenzo Cain go all out in center field to make what was probably the best catch of the baseball year. Unfortunately, it also meant he went all out on the base paths until this happened to his already busted up left leg. And it would be some sort of heroics if the Brewers managed to pull off a win without Cain or Christian Yelich, but it would be a hollow victory and honestly just a lot less fun to see them succeed without those two, which is why I'm bandwagoning the Nationals. Yes, with just one win, the Nationals could break their October curse, and I am very excited to see Max Scherzer factor that level of stakes into his natural game day intensity. So let's root for that. Yeah, come on, let's go, Max! Go Nationals. So that would mean that the Nationals would have to go up against the 106-win Dodgers in the division series, which does not look good for my continued ability to take Amtrak to the playoffs. This is the Dodgers' 7th consecutive trip to the playoffs. And eventually all the champagne celebrations start to run together, and I don't want to be trying to parse whether they're tempering their toast to save some enthusiasm for the World Series. I still think Hyun-Jin Ryu, who doesn't think Hyun-Jin Ryu should win the Cy Young Award, should win the Cy Young Award, but once again, for sheer underdog factor, and because frankly the Dodgers have had their chance, I'm bandwagoning the Nationals. Yes. Who, as we've established, have not been pouring alcohol on each other, at least not in a publicly acknowledged form. What they do on their own time is none of my damn business. But even if they do win the division series, the not yet legal Childish Bambino will have to stick to flavored seltzer, or at least he will rhetorically, for the purposes of emphasizing that he's still only 20 years old. I can't imagine that they actually card players at the clubhouse door. If you feel like you haven't heard a ton about how young and talented Juan Soto is this year, that is because he was even younger and just as talented last season. Soto's birthday is October 25th, so if they want their wonder kid to imbibe along with the rest of the team, the Nationals will have to win the whole damn championship. To do that first, they will have to get through the other NLDS winner. And that series will feature the Braves versus the Cardinals, a matchup of talented teams that we didn't bother to bandwagon in their own episode. For the Braves, that was really just an oversight born out of my latent late 90s NL East bitterness, but for the Cardinals, it's because I don't like their fans and I don't want them to be happy, so Braves it is. We can afford to lose 1/30th of our audience, right? Sure. Okay, good. First of all, Freddie Freeman is our cat guy of the episode. How the hell did he get his cat to sit still in the car like this? It's a dog. The baby bomber Braves are very good. No, not literally Freddie Freeman's baby, although honestly better than I could do. I meant baseball's reigning best friends, Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. This gives us an NL championship showdown of the Nationals versus the Braves, the political versus the politically incorrect. And as cool as it would be for Mike Soroka to play in his first World Series before he even hits puberty, and he deserves it too. He's the antidote to the juice ball giving at baseball's fewest home runs per game. I am always going to take the bearded 30-somethings, Scherzer, Strasburg, Doolittle, Barrett, over the babyface Canadians. Also, I liked the Braves better when they were illegally overpaying their Latin American players instead of taking advantage of an inherently anti-labor system to buy out a whole bunch of future all-star seasons for cheap by exploiting pre-arbitration economic anxiety. Which is why I'm sticking by bandwagoning the Nationals! Yay! I'm sorry, it just is more fun that a wild card team that was in 4th place in mid-July would go through an October run for their first ever franchise World Series appearance. And now, let's talk about who they'll be facing when they get there. The American League wildcard game features a battle of the small market teams stuck in a star-studded division with crumbling ballparks and a belief that savvy bullpen management can beat out bigger budget. Turns out, it can. Pretty cool matchup if you're into Ivy League baseball ops and pitching changes. We talked about both these teams early in the season. Since debuting last August, Ramon Laureano has baseball's best 15 outfield assists, and every single one of them is a breathtaking highlight. Kevin Kiermaier has the bluest eyes in baseball. He's not shy about showing them off. They both make incredible catches, which means it really just comes down to the eyes Yankees versus the Army, with apologies to Kevin Kiermaier's Baby Blues. I would love to see a play at the plate in a sudden death game featuring an outfield assist by Ramon Laureano's cannon, and so I'm bandwagoning the A's. You know who is not surprised by this selection? Liam Hendriks, who could have seen it coming via his direct lines to the occult. The Aussie reliever, who was DFA'd just last year, has become one of the most productive bullpen arms in baseball ever since he started working with a woman he found on Instagram to predict his future, or I don't know, whatever it is they do with tarot cards. And the punchline here is that it worked, at least well enough for him to become a first-time All-Star at 30 and compile the highest WAR of any reliever this season. Joke's on every single one of us who did not bother to build a sustainable business off shuffling cards and telling people, quote, healing is a never-ending process. And that is a sentiment that the Astros would like to have a word with. The team that basically invented the tank and rebuild is setting us all up for a future of extreme disparity by successfully parlaying 111 losses in 2013 into a sustainable dynasty that's sending baseball's best record into October just 2 years after they won it all. Out of sheer deference to what they've been doing, I'm bandwagoning the Astros. When we talked about them a couple weeks ago, it was all in honor of Justin Verlander's third no-hitter and the lack of hair he did it with. I want to take a moment to actually encourage Verlander to embrace his male pattern baldness as evidence of his relatively advanced age. In the final weekend of the season, the 36-year-old picked up his 3,000th career strikeout and 300th strikeout of the season, the 3,000th one. Weird thing, was not an out. The batter swung and it was a wild pitch past the catcher and he reached base, or as his teammates in the dugout said, anyway, the latter fact makes him and Garrett Cole, who is 16-0 in his final 22 starts of the season, just the second ever pair of teammates to reach 300 Ks in the same season. The Astros pitching will make for a particularly three true outcomesy kind of ALCS no matter who advances from the other division series. Both the Yankees and the Twins set a new high watermark by becoming the first two teams in the sport's history to hit 300 home runs in a single season. A lot of 300. It is tough to argue that the 27-time champion Yankees are the underdog in any matchup, especially compared to a team that's playing Williams Astudillo on an everyday basis again. But first of all, the Yankees should have seen a tarot card reader or something about their season, because they have had more than an entire 25-man roster land on the IL. So I'm bandwagoning the Yankees. When we talked about them in the series debut of this show, it was under the belief that they couldn't get any more down on their luck than they were in early May. Tough to sell the Yankees as like a lovable underdog, but this year, the Yankees have had over a dozen guys on the injured list. Since then, however, they've set an all-time record for injuries, and the ragtag group of nobodies holding it together at the time became surprising all-stars, overperforming Mikes, and a utility man turned MVP candidate. It doesn't seem like it should work to take a rotation held together by duct tape in the memory of Whitey Ford into the playoffs, but at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees turned the guy who throws batting practice into an ace long enough to make history. We're almost done.
Yeah.
All right. When the B-list Bombers go up against Houston's Big Three, there's going to be very little small ball to speak of, but the upside, we'll definitely get some photos of Aaron Judge standing next to Jose Altuve, which is always a hoot if you can turn out the everything's not bigger in Texas low-hanging fruit. Even with the New York understudies, this is a clash of the Titans. On paper, this is the best possible intra-league matchup that we'll see this October, which makes it also one of the toughest to choose a rooting interest. Fortunately, I love a good season-long narrative arc, by which I mean both baseball and also the bandwagon. And so, my apologies to the rest of the country. I'm bandwagoning the Yankees. Plus, New York really is the center of the universe. And there you have it. The most fun potential World Series this year would be Nationals versus Yankees. Or as everyone watching this episode will call it, East Coast bias. Think of the storylines. The Yankees in their 41st ever Fall Classic facing off against the Nationals, who are just happy to have won a playoff series. Aaron Boone has never actually picked up a ring despite that home run. And facing off against the Yankees on baseball's biggest stage is the best chance anyone in our country's capital has of actually earning the empathy of people in the heartland. Cool. Yeah. You guys, are you sad? Are you gonna miss me? I'm gonna be gone for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the last episode for a while that we're gonna do in studio, because I am hitting the road to cover the postseason. These matchups, other matchups, probably not these matchups. If it is, I will be super obnoxious and definitely flaunt having gotten it right, even though I promised that I wouldn't. This is my first postseason I have ever covered, and I am very excited. There's a whole bunch of that I'm very excited to see. But one thing more than anything else, that is champagne celebration.
Open that up. No.
It's very tough to see you guys, by the way. Oh, it's...
I knew that was gonna